Alright, how's it going, everybody? Back on top of my rock crusher, but in a different place for today's update video, or Bear's Den 3.0. Crazy's hiding around here. Oh, she's over on the oil drums. She come to help me get stuff built again today. This is update 6.03.19. We finally have a steam turbine. Woohoo! Okay, we'll get to that last. First, he fixed red alloy and similar wires having an initial loss of 1, making weak signals impossible to transmit. Junior, I think, is the one that kind of figured out that that was a problem. So I'm going to have Junior check that out and see if everything's working better. Fixed, if you put a stack of batteries into a Gregtech bat box, they were deleting all but one of the batteries by setting the stack size to 0. Now they won't even attempt to charge or discharge when stacked. That's something that I'm actually kind of amazed that happened in GT6, because I think it was something that happened in GT5 as well. But at least that's fixed. You won't be losing your batteries anymore. Let's see. Changed the Railcraft. Daggone it. The Railcraft rock crusher that I'm standing on. Recipes now have their config default to false if the crush stack is not a block. So, like, if you remember correctly, I was looking at these things here that I could run through which I can still do it in an IC2 macerator. But there was a rock crusher thing to get the 11 tiny dust out of it, because that's what it contains. But now the shredder actually has the 11, so I don't have to use the Railcraft rock crusher. I can just run it through a shredder and get my 11 tiny piles out of it there. So all of this stuff needs to get ran through. Since we're talking about that real quick, what I basically been doing with this other stuff like iron and tin, cobalt, copper, anything like that, I've been putting into a smelter and letting it cook down, making sure that I do it in a multiple of 9, since it gives, tiny piles. You do it in a multiple of 9, and for every 9 of these that you put in, you will get 11 out. So you get 2 extra. And then anything that can't be smelted goes in the shredder, gets made into a regular dust in the dust funnel, and then smelted that way. And then we have the big change, and that is added the steam turbines, which the steam turbine will create rotational units rather than electricity. So the first thing we're going to have, you'll notice you have multiple flavors here. They look like there's only like 4 flavors, but that's the 4 tiers basically. You have bronze, brass, and Invar is your first tier, and you'll notice they all have 66.66 efficiency. And then your next tier is going to be steel, chromium, ironwood, steel leaf, and thaumium. And then your next tier is going to be titanium, fiery steel, aluminum, and magnesium. Nice to see that magnesium has a use again. Give us a reason to use up all that magnesium we have. And then you have your last tier, which is the tungsten steel looking tier, but for some reason there is no tungsten or tungsten steel. It's void metal, something with titanium, trinitanium, and graphene. And I wanted to look at this one Okay, so it is tungsten steel, just not tungsten steel rotors. It's some other kind of rotor with a tungsten steel base. Okay, so is there a way of making this stuff? Because I'm not even sure what this is. Let's see, combination of trinium and titanium. Trinium comes from where? I don't even know this material, and I don't see where it says you can. Let's see, crucible smelting. Let's go back to tiny pile. That one, and that comes from electrolyzing trinium dust, crushing trinium ore. These are probably all going to be trinium. Hoping to see that there's a byproduct one here somewhere, but let's see, triniquata alloy. That's a new one too, I didn't know existed. Alright, so I'm not real sure where you get trinium from. Apparently if you can figure it out, you can make that one. It looks like, unless you can figure where that stuff comes out at, which I'll have to look into it a little bit, that's the only one you can really make, because graphene rotors are uncraftable at the moment. So the highest level you're going to be able to do is going to be magnesium, until either you guys can figure out where that stuff comes from, or I can figure out where that stuff comes from and let you know. Unless you have Thylacraft, because that's where void metal comes from, and I don't have that, so I can't show you that. And anyways, the one I decided to go with for my first one is going to be brass. And the reason I chose that is because it does 24 RU. 24 RU is just over the 16 you need to run a shredder. So if it gets a little bit less steam for a tick, it won't kick the recipe out. It'll overclock the recipe just a hair. So that's the one I'm going to go with. And tomorrow's video will probably be me testing this bad boy out. So it needs 4 brass rotors, 2 bronze gears, long bronze rod, and a robust machine hull. And so we're going to throw these things in here real quick. I already made up the rotors ahead of time. And there we go. So there's our turbine. Now before we take a look at this, you'll see that all of the ones in the bronze class are those 4 components of bronze, and then whatever those rotors are. Same with the steel class, you always start with those 4 components, the 2 gears, the rod, and the robust machine hull, and then whatever rotors are for that one. This one is going to be titanium based, and then this one, like we already said, is tungsten steel based. So this is our rotational steam turbine. So it's going to put out RU from the front, take in steam from anywhere else. So basically all these ports are for steam, and this is the part that you put towards the machine. Looks just like the motor. This is going to save a lot of power, because you're not going to have to turn something into electricity and then into RU. You can go straight to RU, so there will be less of a loss. Let's go ahead and get the dynamo made, which is like this, if I remember correctly. Actually, I think it's like this. Yep. And there's the electrical. No, it's electrical motor. So that is not the dynamo. Alright, so the dynamo, which is what makes the actual power, this is RU to EU converter block, takes in 32 RU, puts out 24 EU, 75% efficiency. And then you also have your MV, which is 128 to 96, 512 to 384, up to EV, which is 2048 to 1536. And then you also, there's also an IV one. Then you also have these flux dynamos, which will put out RF. These do not have recipes, but they're here if you want to mind tweak in a recipe. So this would actually give you 100% efficiency rather than the steam engines, which have a 50% loss. Personally, I'm going to stick with my pack just having the steam engines. I'm not going to use these, but if you choose to, they're there. You just got to mind tweak in the recipe. So this is okay. I was exactly backwards, and she already fixed it for me. So here's our electrical dynamo, and you will see that it takes energy in from the back and puts it out from the front. So it's going to go just like that. Go ahead and move this so you can see what the back looks like. Looks just like the side of that, so you can tell. And then it has the power port on the side. So this is how you would set it up right here, with your steam going in and your power would come out here. Oh, sorry, crazy. Smacking women, what a bad guy. So your power would come out here, and it would be a 50% loss from steam to power. That's why the 66.666% on the RU, 75 on this, is so you can have exactly 50% loss from steam to power. So I'm going to be putting a lot of these around my base. I'm going to choose probably to do steam pipes kind of all over the place, going to these at little stations, kind of like this station that I have here will get changed. I'm still probably going to use a lot of the bio generators because I've already got them installed everywhere. I may eventually change them out to where the ethanol actually powers it. But by having this, I can also now have a purely Gregtech ethanol plant because I can use RU to do the shredding. So I'm going to be trying to get that hooked up this week as well. So let's go through the rest of this. You have aluminum for LV, obviously. Then your galvanized, this will be stainless. This, I guess, will be chromium. Yep. And then titanium. Wait a minute, did I miss one? No. Okay, and she's throwing things at me. Oh, bronze dust. So there's your 5 different flavors. And you'll see the wires go up on each one. You got singles, doubles, triples, quadruples, and then 16x for your highest ones. And let's see what else it says here. Steam turbines for steam to rotational units with a loss of 33.333%, exactly 1/3. Explosions happen when overfed with steam, so you got to make sure you're not putting in too much steam. Explosions are currently disabled, but you'll have that overcharge noise. So if you hear that noise, know that you should have just blown up. So you want to keep it under that. They will emit 1 liter of distilled water for every 200 liters of steam to the sides. So these littler ports here will put out distilled water, but only 1 liter for every 200 liters that go in. So steam here. Wait a minute, didn't this say it can take in steam on any side? Energy in, steam, any but front. Okay. Not quite understanding that, Greg, but should be steam goes in a bag, distilled water comes out everywhere else. But okay. So it will put out distilled water, but it's only 1 to 200 rather than the 80% that you get from the engines. It will be voided if you don't have a place for it to go, so you don't really have to worry about collecting it if you don't want to. Then the dynamos, which convert rotational energy into electrical energy with a loss of 25%. Crafted like the electric motor of the same tier but upside down. Also has a non-craftable RU to RF variant. Use MineTweaker if you want to add it, along with the motors, heaters, and engines that there are flux versions of. Note the 2/3 efficiency of the turbine, 3/4 efficiency of the dynamo add up to an overall half efficiency, exactly 50%, when converting steam to electricity, but unlike the Railcraft turbine's 125% efficiency, but eat steel. So if you have ass tons of steel, you can get 125% efficiency with this. But that's 200 plus steel, and it needs steel to make the rotors every so often. Where this is a lot cheaper, less efficient, but never needs any maintenance. It will run forever and never break. Let's see. His are maintenance free, won't consume metals, and have realistic ratios and stuff. So there you go. That is the changelog for this week. There's not a whole lot more that I've noticed that has changed. If I see anything, I'll let you know in my videos throughout the week, and try to remember to let you know with the next update video. Hope it helps. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, let me know, or go straight to Greg at the IC2 forums or on his Gregtech development channel on IRC. All of the information for that can be found on the IC2 Gregtech 6 channel of the forums. And as usual, I'm there every day, so you can also leave me a comment on the video, and I'll be glad to pass it along and leave you an answer as soon as I get one. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Have a great day.